head of the Division on Women under Tom Kane, and she also serves now as the Executive Director of Women Advocating Good Government. So we've got two fine women that we're honoring this year in the spirit of what Barbara Boggs Sigmund was all about. So those are the types of things we do, and the money raised goes to a PAC, and that's money that we give away to candidates every election cycle. When
what is your website? If I wanted to type in your website, what would I?
Your viewers can go to www.wpcnj.org. There's a wealth of information there. Your viewers can find out how to become members, what the upcoming events are, and so on and so forth. So,
now, women live about 7 years longer than men, maybe more now. They control about 60% of the wealth. In part because of the longevity question. Should we not be seeing women really as a favored part of the species rather than people that have any problems?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Shouldn't there be Men's History Day to honor our contributions instead of Women's History Day?
Well,
since
you
have all these benefits.
Well, you have to look at the historical circumstance of women in history. Women only got the vote a little over 100 years ago, or somewhere around 100 years ago. And I should say, in honor of Women's History Month and the suffrage movement, New Jersey plays a pivotal part. I'm sure many of your viewers are aware of Alice Paul. She was a huge force in obtaining the vote for the women up in Seneca Falls, New York, where they held the first conference. And she truly was a pioneer, and New Jersey is proud to lay claim to her. And I think one of the things that's especially important, this year Alice Paul was named as one of the New Jersey Hall of Famers. Right. It's taken a couple of years to get her recognized, but that happened this year. And it actually happened because of the fine grassroots work of all the women's groups in the state of New Jersey. I know we promoted it actively through emails and on our website, and so did a number of other women's groups. So it's good to see her finally recognized for that important contribution in women's suffrage. I don't think women would say that they enjoy a favored status. I think in the workplace, in politics, in a number of venues, women are still struggling, I think, to have parity in terms of pay, parity in terms of opportunity, and there's still a lot of very tragic stories out there. What comes to mind is Lily Ledbetter, who brought the important case a couple of years ago that the Supreme Court weighed in on.
Explain that a little bit, because it's an important case, but nobody really ever talks about the background.
Well, this is the quintessential pay equity case. Lily was a manager for a Goodyear plant down in Alabama, and she found out that for years her male colleagues had been getting paid much higher salaries than she did. She never had a bad review. She never had a performance issue. When she raised the issue about being paid the fair wage, Goodyear sort of returned volley by saying, well, we'll give you a token amount of money. We're not going to go all the way back to your, to the day of first hire, but we'll give you a token amount of money and, please go away, ma'am. And Lily, almost to the point of financial destruction, brought a case further and further and further all the way to the Supreme Court, so that she literally could have her day in court. So what's the significance of that case for women, but for any Americans seeking equity? She won a moral victory. Unfortunately, she didn't win back all of the money that, she was afforded. But it was an important lesson, I think, in terms of, as far as women have come, they haven't come quite so far where we're still fighting these same battles for equity. And you see this also in women's sports, the whole issue with
Title
equity.
IX,
whole Title IX. And this summer I was out in California where they had the former coaches of the University of California at Fresno talk about, how they were marginalized, how poorly they were treated for trying to, get some sort of equity for their female players. So, there's still a lot of issues out there. I would say, women are achieving. We're certainly capable of holding those key slots in politics and society and sports. But we've got some work to do. We definitely have some work to do. So favored nation status probably, we'd probably chuckle at that,
If in fact you were to say to somebody who's some historian, some guy like me who's a historian, we haven't examined women's history enough. What areas do you think should be focused on? What areas really would you welcome, more intense study?
I think, we've just had so many important and significant contributions from women in the science community. This brochure I was telling you about yesterday that I picked up in the cafeteria had a number of inventions illuminated by women, which is just a fascinating concept. And when you think about, I think the quest in America to become more competitive in science and math and technology, and to get our children interested in, science, math, and engineering, and some of the things that we traditionally think of as not the United States' strongest suit, and certainly for women,
right.
There's always, I believe, been a bias towards teaching boys those things as opposed to girls. I think there's a real eye-opener when you look at the contributions of women in math and science, and this whole renewed push towards getting women getting our young girls and women acquainted with the careers and the possibilities in those fields. I'm a graduate of a women's college, and I know as an undergrad and even up until this year, there still is quite a commitment.
Which college is that?
Douglas College in New
Brunswick. The only
Brunswick.
public women's college left, isn't it?
Only public women's college left, and it has a fine legacy. It's turned out some real achievers in New Jersey and throughout the country who are, continuing to make enormous contributions.
I think that you've have a situation there where there are large areas that people know about. We know the women were obviously involved in the suffragette movement. We know that they were involved in the pacifist movement too. We know they're heavily involved in prison reform at one time. Mm-hmm. They were the backbone of the age of reform in the 1840s, and then they were the backbone of the progressive age of reform in the 1900s. But somehow those women got lost in the shuffle when we've told both those stories. We don't talk about the women that were preeminent and important, and in fact were in many ways terribly significant for abolition of black slavery mm-hmm. before Lincoln.
Indeed.
Why is all that getting lost? Is it we just do not acknowledge the contributions of women, or we do acknowledge them and we take them for granted?
I suppose it could be a little of both. In the competition of the idea marketplace, there's so many groups and so many issues and so many things out there that vie for our attention. We're in an age of information overload. You can get things instantaneously, probably not unlike many of your viewers. I have a Facebook account, a Twitter account. I'm hooked to email, I'm hooked to BlackBerry, I'm hooked to a cell phone. So I think there's a lot of competition just in the information-free market. The nice thing is, you can call up Google and try to find out more, and hopefully some of your viewers will be inspired to do that after today's conversation on the contributions of women and Women's History Month. I did that a few days ago, and there's quite a few entries on the notable women. And I think there is maybe, and this is probably a positive thing, that I think it's not unusual to see a woman governor or lieutenant governor, a sitting senator, a neurosurgeon. Women occupy a lot of important places, women on the Supreme Court. So I think there might be, the ultimate leveling of the playing field where we do take some of those positions for granted and say, okay, now women have truly made it because they've, cracked this last glass ceiling. I think